you good?
I'm good.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
So I pinned our guests today, so they're larger than life.
And we're recording, by the way, so behave yourselves.
So this is an update, for those of you that don't know, this is an update from a recording that's on the Keller Williams Classic Cappers and Training YouTube page that Mark and Chris did this, I think it was 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
All right.
yeah, 29 minutes or something like that. So,
Wow.
recollect, if you need me, you know where to find me.
All right, cool. Thank you. So, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're glad you're here. The purpose of this time, this next hour, Chris and I intend to go through pre-qualification script, a listing presentation, and then we're going to go over a couple objections at the end. And then we're going to take a little bit of time and answer questions that you guys have so that you have clarity around a listing presentation, and we can all learn from this. So thanks so much. We appreciate you being here. So I'm going to start with a pre-qualification script and what that looks like, and we're going to go through the whole thing. Now, when I go through a pre-qualification script, I take notes on a piece of paper. I just happen to have everything spelled out in advance. And if any of you want a copy of this, you can get it from Ronnie. He has it. And then I'm going to go through the script. Now, I want you to know, in the last year and a half, I've gone to a new listing presentation. So some of you who have heard this in the past, you're going to hear something different. And I want you to be aware that the pre-qualification script that I'm using is really designed to set up the presentation. Okay? So, and we can talk about that at the end. So, can you guys, everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Terrific. So, right now on a pre-qualification script, I'm not going to be looking at Chris because I'm on the phone with him. All right? So, I'm just getting information from him. So, Chris, we've just set an appointment, and now I'm going to be asking him some questions. So, Chris, before I come out, there's just a number of questions that I need to ask. And my intention in asking is simply to determine how I can serve you best. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Now, I've only spoken with you. Are there any other decision makers?
No, it's just me.
Okay, great. So no one else Untitled that would want to be present to make that decision. Now, are you planning to interview more than myself for the job of selling your home?
Yes, I am. I've got 2 other agents I'm going to be interviewing.
Okay, so 2 other agents. Let me notate that here. And gosh, who are they? I might even know them.
I prefer not to share that.
Okay, fair enough. And in terms of what you guys have been looking for, and my intention, again, provided the opportunity, is to really do a great job for you, Chris. So specifically, what qualities are you guys going to be looking for in the agent that you hire to help? What's important to you?
I definitely want someone with a lot of experience. You know, they know the market. Obviously, can give me the best price. And then ultimately, you know, I just want the most amount of money in my pocket, so whoever can give me the best rate as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you want someone that has a lot of experience, knows the market, will get you the best price, and it sounds like you're going to be sensitive to what the commission charge is, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great.
What do you charge for commission?
You know what, that's a great question. What I think the most important thing is the bottom line dollars that we put into your pocket after the sale. So why don't we go over that when we meet, and I'll go over a net sheet with you at that time. Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay, great. So, and share with me again, tell me, where are you planning on moving to next?
I'm moving to Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yes.
What's taking you to Omaha?
Family and work.
Okay, it's always good to be near family. Who have you got out there? Is it, have you got kids out there, or?
No, just parents and cousins and aunts and uncles.
Okay, so what's important about getting closer to your cousins, aunts, and uncles and your parents?
I grew up there. I'm just ready to go back, be closer to family.
Okay, that's great. Terrific. And so, in a perfect world, I guess, ideally, when would you like to be to Omaha, living near your family?
As soon as the house sells.
Okay, so it sounds like as soon as possible. Got it. And then, now I'm curious, based on what you've been kind enough to share, is it an option for you guys to not sell this home and still move? Is that a possibility for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to do that
Okay, so it sounds like your preference would be to just have it sold. And so now I'm curious, is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, you know what, I could care less if I don't move, it's not a big deal, and 10 being, we're definitely gonna get to Omaha. Where would you place yourself?
I'm definitely moving.
Okay, so you're a 10, that's great. Now, if I've sold the property for you in the next 30 to 45 days, would that pose a problem for you?
Nope.
Okay, and is there anything still owed on the property that needs to be paid off at closing, or is it free and clear for you?
Yeah, I do have a mortgage.
Okay, approximately how much is owed?
How come that matters?
Well, so as I shared with you, when we meet, I'm going to do an estimate of net proceeds, and I'll include that so that you can see, as you've requested, you want to know your bottom line and you want to make sure you're netting the most. So that's the only reason I'm asking.
Okay. Yeah, like around 200,000.
Okay, perfect, excellent. And being that that's the case, are you interested at all in acting like a bank and holding a note for the new buyer, or do you just want me to help you get all the cash out?
Yeah, I just want the cash.
Okay, all right. And then have you ever thought about selling the property yourself?
Not really. No.
Okay, great. And then are you gonna need any help with your relocation to your new, to getting to Omaha? If we can connect you with an agent on the other end, would that help you?
Oh, I see. No, I've already got a rental up there that I'm looking at, so I'm just gonna rent for the time being.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got that worked out. If you do need to get connected with someone, we can help you with that. Perfect. Now, in your own words, could you please describe your home for me in as much detail as possible? Particularly, is there any improvements we should know about, or is there anything wrong with it that might need to be resolved?
No, there's nothing wrong with it that I'm aware of, so I'm guessing, did you pull the tax records on it?
Right now, the property is showing to be that it's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and 1,741 square feet, and it was built in 2005. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that sounds right. I put a new roof on like 3 years ago. I regularly maintained the air conditioning. I painted the entire house a couple years ago, and keep it really clean. It's really in great shape.
Okay, that's awesome. So you've got new roof. That's important for insurance these days. Paint. Do you happen to know how old the air conditioner is?
I think it's like 11 years old.
11 years old. Okay, great. And then what about the hot water heater?
Probably about the same.
Okay, so about 11 years old. Okay, the reason I ask that is for insurance reasons, for buyers to get insurance. Those items can't be older than 15 years. So it sounds like your home is in great shape for selling. That's great. So now I'm wondering, do you plan on making any other changes or modifications to the property before I start showing it to my buyers?
I want your guys' input. If there's some things that I can do to make it better, I'd be willing to.
Okay, terrific. And we can do a condition consult while I'm there. My intention in sharing information with you is to let you know the least that you've got to do so that you can get the most. Okay? All right, great. And I'm curious, you strike me as someone who pays attention, Chris. You seem pretty savvy. You've probably done some homework and preparation for our time together. Maybe even gone online and looked at Zillow and stuff like that. I'm curious, did you have any idea at all of realistically what you were thinking of in terms of price?
So just stepping out of the role play here, he's got some examples of comps, and I'm gonna make him get me down on price, or attempt to get me down on price. So yeah, I've looked at it, and yeah, I was thinking like maybe 435.
Okay. All right, great. Well, my intention, provided the opportunity, Chris, is to help you maximize value and get you every penny possible. So I'm also committed to 100% to providing you with the most accurate information and earning your business with integrity. Sharing with you what's realistic versus promising you something that I know is not going to happen and then not being able to deliver on that promise. So in the information that I'm going to be sending out to you, amongst other things, I'm going to be sending you an attachment. That attachment's going to have comparables. And I'll show you what's active and on the market right now and not selling with pictures, so we can compare apples to apples, how long they've been on the market at those prices, and which is important. That's instructive because the neighbors, they've already done us a favor. They've already tested the market at prices that are not working, Chris, and we can learn from that, right? So the second thing that I'll share with you is what's recently closed and sold in the last 6 months, what they had to offer. And from all that information, we're going to be able to determine together as a team, not a pinpoint to the penny number, but instead a very tight, realistic range. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm going to be sending that information via email. What's the best email for you?
Chris at Yahoo.
Okay, great. Chris at Yahoo. Now, Chris, I'm aware that I've asked you a lot of questions. I do appreciate it. Do you have any questions or concerns for me before I send you the information and we ultimately connect?
Nope.
Okay, great. Well, I'm aware that I'm just, up until this point, I've been a voice on the phone. So I'll also be sending you over, amongst other things, in the signature of my email will be a link to our website, which I encourage you to check out. It'll help you put a face to a name. There's also going to be a link to our online reviews. There's well over 170 5-star reviews that perhaps you could check out. That'll give you a flavor for what our clients are saying about our level of service. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Now, is this, you strike me to be someone who's super straightforward. I'm the same way, Chris. So when we do connect, provided that what I say makes sense to you and you feel comfortable and confident with me, that I can help you sell the home, net the most amount of money possible in your pocket, and make it a smooth, easy transition for your family. Are you open to the possibility of hiring me when I see you on Tuesday at 2?
No, I've got another interview after that, and then I'll probably have a decision by the end of the week.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you want to absolutely go through all of these interviews before you make your final decision. Okay, great. So if we were to schedule our meeting, when is your last interview?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, all right. Chris, what time is that meeting on Wednesday?
3 o'clock.
Okay, so if we were to do a meeting at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, would that be a fit for you?
I thought we were meeting Tuesday at 2.
Well, it sounds like you want to get through everyone before you make a final decision, and I certainly would like you to have all that information before we get together and you decide that I'm going to be the best choice for you. So if we met on Wednesday at 5, would that be a fit for you?
Yeah, we can make that work.
Okay, great. Well, so what I'll do is I'll bring all the appropriate paperwork with me, so provided that it makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident with me, then we're going to be able to take the next steps. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay, great. Now, again, in this case, I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday at 5 o'clock and getting you one step closer to living in Omaha near your family.
Okay.
All right, so that's pre-qual. I've got what I need.
All right, do we got any questions from anybody?
Chat. Pre-qual.
Questions from the gallery?
Chat. We will add their material. Okay.
Questions? So let's talk
I have a
about.
question.
Okay.
So, hi, Mark. Hi, Chris. So did I hear you mention that you're going to provide them the comparables up front, or did you say that that's at the meeting?
No, I definitely provide and send it up front.
Okay, thanks.
So how come you chose to go? Why did you choose to move the appointment?
Because you shared with me that you're not going to make a decision until you meet with everybody.
Okay, you guys all get that? So you want to really attempt to close at the presentation, because the likelihood, if you don't get it signed there, I'd say it's less than 30%.
Correct.
Right. So I actually had that happen with the Dave Ramsey lead. The gentleman said the same thing, and then they signed.
Yep.
So also, in my opinion, the best question that you asked throughout all that, and I have a similar script, is tell me about your property.
Yep.
Right? And why do we do that?
Because we want to understand their personality style. We want to understand who they are as a person.
Okay.
And if, I imagine I see where you're going with
Yeah, I
this.
think they should all know that.
So let's say you all are clear on the DISC profile, DISC.
And if not, you should learn it.
Okay, so I'll go over it briefly. So DISC would be a driver personality. And if I asked a driver, typically, or a D, to briefly tell me about their property, they would say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What more do you need to know? If I asked an I, which is an expressive personality, can you briefly tell me about your home? They might say, well, we have the most wonderful parties in our house. We love entertaining. It's a great place. But they haven't told me anything about their home. However, they're maybe not going to be, they probably could make a decision quicker than an S or a C. And an S is going to be amiable personality. And if I asked an S, could you briefly describe your home to me? They'll say, well, we really just want everybody to be happy in our home. We really love when people come over, and we just want to make sure that people are happy and comfortable. And sometimes they can be a little slower to make a choice because of those concerns about making sure that everyone's happy. Does that make sense? And then if I asked a C, which is typically an analytical type personality, how could you briefly describe your home for me? They might say, well, it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, it's 2,752 square feet, and it's on 1.7 acres. So you see, to them, that's all about the details, and it could take more information for that person to make that decision. So Chris pretty quickly described the condition of his home, and he is a driver. So perhaps if he is a driver, maybe he would make a decision so that he doesn't have to sit through another presentation. So do you understand why it would be important to know that? And maybe I wouldn't have made the appointment. In fact, did you even have asked Chris? He said, well, why are you changing the appointment? Because he's a driver. That tends to be his personality style. Does that make sense?
They make decisions. So the one that I lost, he was a high I, and I knew that, and I picked to go last, and I asked him several times, would you definitely interview all 3 agents? He said yes. And then I got the call from the first agent that night.
Yep.
That they signed.
Because I's, they'll make decisions on the spot, right? They will make them quickly, because then they just want to move on to what's next that their thoughts are taking them to. Does that make sense? Whereas the C and the S, they're going to be a little bit slower to make those choices. Does that make sense? Okay, great.
I have
All
a
right.
question, Chris,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind. You asked, Mark, if they have considered to sell it for themselves, for sell by owner. Can you tell me the reason behind that?
Well, so it would be important for me to know that going out, correct? Now, if someone says they're going to sell it themselves, I might go a little bit deeper in that questioning. I might say, well, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm definitely going to do this on my own because, I change my own oil and I'm a do-it-yourself type of person. And 1 being, you know what, I'm just kind of checking that out. Likely I'll sell it with an agent. And then they say to me, well, I'm a 3. Then I would feel comfortable going on that appointment. However, if they say to me I'm an 8, 9, then I would say, sounds to me like you really are going to want to do this on your own. Is that correct? And then they might say, yeah, I really do have plans. I really just want you out so that I can understand what the value is. Okay, great. Well, why don't I email that information over to you?
Thank you so much for explaining that. Thank you.
Now I haven't gone out and spent, 2 hours, 3 hours when I could be finding another person that actually wants to work with me. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Okay, you guys are great. Thank you. So now we're going to do the listing presentation.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
The 15 years you said about you told in your house it's in good condition because now the insurance for 15 years you say something about the roof and
Okay, so to my knowledge, and confirm this, I think it's hot water heaters are 15 years.
I'm not aware of that. I've not heard that.
Hot water heaters, air conditioning are 15 years, and roofs, if they're shingle, are 12, and flat roofs are 10 years. Tile roofs are 20 years. So in other words, if any of those items are older than that, insurance will not write a policy. Buyers are getting questionnaires right now from insurance when they go to get insurance, and it asks those 3 questions: how old's the roof, AC, and the hot water tank.
And electric for the 4-point.
That's correct, yeah. And if they're older than what the insurance will allow, which those years that I gave you are essentially guidelines that I got from my insurance person, then it's possible that the insurance carrier will not write, and you could have a problem with that. So it's good to set our sellers up now, knowing that now, so then that way when inspections happen, if they're not blindsided with this, they can start to mentally get prepared to maybe have to spend some money so that they can sell their home to a finance buyer. Does that make sense?
oh yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so now we're at the presentation. And so Chris, first and foremost, I just wanted to begin our time together just by saying thank you for providing me the opportunity to share some information and help you with the sale. So I always like to begin these conversations just by asking a few quick questions to know that I'm on the same page with you. Would that be okay? All right, the first question I have, which I'm pretty sure I know the answer to based on our initial conversation on the phone, is that you guys have definitely decided that you're going to sell this property, and you're not interested in doing something else with it, like holding on to it or maybe renting it. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, definitely will sell.
Okay, great. That leads me to my second question, which I'm also pretty sure I know the answer to, is we want to position the property price-wise to sell. We definitely don't want to give it away, that's for sure. And at the same time, we're really not interested in having it sit on the market for an extended period of time, like 6 or 7 months just testing the market, correct?
No, I'd rather get it sold quick. I mean, everything I understand is there's a lot of multiple offers right now, so.
Okay, and I remember you saying that just as soon as the house sells, you're ready to get near family in Omaha. Okay, great. And then, which leads me to my third question, which I'm also pretty sure I know the answer to. I'm aware that I sent you over some information in preparation for our meeting. I'm imagining that you did some due diligence on me. You probably checked me out online, saw our great track record and reviews. Have you already decided that you'd like for me to help you with the sale?
No, I've interviewed the 2 other agents. I'm gonna take what you say and then I'm gonna sleep on it and get back to everyone probably like Thursday or Friday.
Okay, great. Well, I realize this is a big decision, Chris, and you want to make sure that you're making the best one possible. I want to be clear, that definitely is my intention also. So provided that what I say to you does make sense, you feel comfortable and confident with me that I can, help you sell the home, net the most amount of money, and do it in a smooth, easy transition for you, myself, my team, and my staff, we're ready to go to work ASAP. And in fact, I brought all the appropriate paperwork with me today, so provided it does make sense, we can take care of that. Fair enough? Okay, great. So, and along those lines, you were kind enough to share with me, in terms of a selection process of an agent, you wanted an agent who had a lot of experience, someone that knows the market, and also was going to get you the best price. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you'd be looking for from me today, Chris, as your agent, that would cause you to feel comfortable and confident just to proceed and put me to work?
Yeah, I want to know what the rate is, and then I want to know, if there's anything I should do. I want your advice if there's anything I can do to get more money for the home.
Okay, great. So it sounds like we need to look at the house, give some advice on what it would take to get the most, and then also we want to look at commission. That's going to be important to you before you make that final decision. All right, great. So at the culmination of our time together, there's one of 3 outcomes that's going to happen. The first is that you decide to list the home with me. That would be great. As I shared with myself, team, and staff, we're excited to have that opportunity. The second is that you decide not to list the home with me. That would be okay too. And then the third, and this is just as important as the other 2, is for some reason, Chris, if I honestly felt that I would not be able to help you get what you wanted at the time that you wanted, then I may very humbly decline the opportunity to list your home. Now, the only reason I would do this is I would much rather earn your business with integrity, being very honest and straightforward with you with regards to what's reasonable and realistic, versus promising me the moon and then not being able to deliver on that promise. Now, any one of those 3 options, I'm completely comfortable with. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay, great. And then along those lines, I wanted to ask a few questions and go over the information we spoke about on the phone before our meeting to make sure that I understand the situation fully and completely so I can do a great job for you, okay? Okay. So you were kind enough to share with me that in terms of the main reason that you guys are selling the property is you want to get closer to family in Omaha, Nebraska. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Congratulations. It's always good to be near family. You were also kind enough to share with me that time frame wise, you would like for me to have it sold just as soon as possible. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. That means realistically, you said that you had a balance that you owed about $200, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you guys are not interested in acting like a bank for the buyer. You just want me to help you get all the cash out. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. And then just so that I'm aware in terms of showings under normal conditions, who would you want us to contact for showings? Is somebody home normally, or how would you like that to happen?
Yeah, contact me. I work from home.
Okay, great. So I notated that here. And as far as that goes, I'm aware that part of the value that we bring to a situation, Chris, is communication. I'm also aware that everybody has a different preferred method of communication. So as things are progressing and we're having showings or offers that come in, things of that nature, would you prefer that I call, email, or text you?
Text if it's more urgent, email otherwise.
Okay, so I'll notate that here. And then when we get offers that come in that are acceptable, I can send them to you via DocuSign. I do have your email here. And then price-wise, when we spoke, I think you shared with me that you were looking to get about $435,000 for the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So I'm crystal clear on the situation, and again, I feel supremely confident provided the opportunity that we can help. So the good news is we really only have to look at two things during our time together today. The first is your motivation to sell, which you made that clear to me. It's time to get to Omaha. You said you were a 10, right? Right. Okay, the second is going to be the price that we ultimately decide to put on your property. So I've prepared for you a comparative market analysis. I sent it out to you in advance, and I've also brought it with me today, and we'll go over it together. And there's two parts to the research that I do. Part one is what's active and on the market right now and not selling, which is very helpful. Your neighbors, they've actually done us a huge favor. Do you know what that is, Chris?
Well, I think you mentioned on the phone that you just said that you know, they're out there and they're not selling, so.
Exactly right. They're already testing the market for us and they're showing us what's not working.
Right.
And the second data point that we'll look at together today as a team is what's actually sold and closed, because what something's worth is what someone's willing to pay for it. Does that make sense? So as we look at these two pieces of information together as a team, what's going to come to the surface, Chris, is not a pinpoint to the penny number, but instead a very tight, realistic range. This is what's going to be reasonable. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, good. So I always like to ask homeowners, are you familiar with the way buyers determine value for a home like this in a community like this?
I imagine they just go out and shop and compare, but you know, I think there's limited inventory is everything that I'm reading, so
Yes.
I feel like, you know, we should maybe be able to get a little bit more than what things have been selling for.
That would be hopeful. That would be our goal for you. So you're exactly correct. Buyers determine value by comparison shopping. So they're going to look at your home, its price, they're going to factor in its features, and then they're going to compare it to what's on the market and also to what they can purchase right now and also what's sold and closed. Fair enough? Okay. So I find it super helpful. Sometimes it can be a challenge. I'm not suggesting that it's true for you, but just to really try to do our best to look at this information through the eyes of the buyer. Because I'm aware, Chris, that the buyer's hat is a little bit different from the seller's hat. And really by asking ourselves and saying, okay, if you were going to buy your home all over again, having reviewed the information that we're about to look at, what price do you feel that you would feel comfortable making an offer that would be reflective of fair market value? Okay? So as we review the information, we're going to see that realistic range emerge. From there, it's just going to come down to strategy. We'll go over strategies because I want you to feel comfortable with the strategy we end up choosing. And then I can answer any questions that you may have. Provided that it all makes sense, and you feel comfortable and confident with me, we can take the next steps and take care of the appropriate thing. Okay? Okay, great. So let's go over the market analysis. Okay, I'm going to take us out of the role play for a second. This is what I've got. You guys can't see that.
Can't see that.
All it is a grid from the MLS. And on this grid, it has the status, the close date, the price, the list price, the close price. It's got price per square foot, sell price per square foot, how many days it took to sell, the square footage, bedrooms, baths, year built, and then if acreage, because sometimes that can vary a little bit, okay? And then I've got a map. When I do present, most often I will present off my tablet, but if they don't have internet, I always bring paper copy just in case.
So how do you access that in MLS?
This would be a grid report. Yeah, and you can actually also, you can make your own grid report. You can customize it so that it's exactly this. Because I've discovered that this really is the most important information that I need. Then when presenting, oftentimes, I will present from my tablet. And the reason I'll present from my tablet is because then we can go over pictures. And especially for your high eyes, and your your C's and S's, they like those details. Hi, good to see you. So, and actually I find that almost everybody wants to see pictures anyhow, so I'll present from my tablet. But for the sake of time, we're gonna use this, okay? All right, so Chris, now that we understand how buyers determine value, let's go over the market, shall we?
Okay.
So, okay, let's take a look at this first one. And when did this one sell?
Looks like back in September.
Yep, so it's a real current finger on the pulse of the market. What price were they asking?
$449,
And what price did it sell for?
$450.
Yep, and you can see how many days did it take for it to sell,
6,
right? And how many square feet was that?
1886.
So it's about 140 square foot larger than us. And this one had how many bathrooms?
3.
And which is one more than us. We've only got 2. And you can see bedrooms. You can see how many are here. Okay. And now this one was on almost 3. It was looks like 3/10, a little over 3/10 of an acre, 0.35 acres, right? And your house is on 0.17 acres. So it's about almost 2 times the size lot. And this one was on the golf course. Okay. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to explain what I just did. If you notice, when I go through these, if I'm going through it on my tablet, I'm asking Chris to tell me what he's seen. And why would that be important? Keep him engaged. Exactly. And he'll remember. Versus me going and saying, all right, so you got this one here. It was priced at $449. It had he's not as engaged when we're telling him. He's not going to be as engaged. All right. So I'm going to go through every single one of those comps with Chris, which I'm not going to do right now for the sake of time. And then at the end, I'm going to say, all right, Chris, so now that you've seen this information, I've done a little math for us, and I do some math, okay? At the bottom here, I don't know if you can see, there's 3 columns. One says high, average, and low. And we just type onto a PDF is all we're doing. I'm bringing that with. And I'm sending that out to them before the meeting so that they can see this information before we go over it together, all right? So they've had plenty of time to review it. So Chris, now that you've seen this information, my question to you is I guess if you were to make an offer on your home all over again, having that buyer's hat on, where would you feel comfortable making an offer that you feel would be reflective of fair market value?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to try a little bit higher. Like what you mentioned, active competition. What is my active competition?
So currently, right now, the good news is you have none. That's on our favor, right? So you can see the high in this report would put your home at 1741 square feet at 415,000, right? You can see the average would put you here, right? And then the low, which we're not even going to talk about because you're on the golf course.
Yep.
You've got new and updated wood flooring and you've got a new kitchen. There's no reason you can bring that up, right? Okay. So the most recent one that you can see that has gone pending and under contract, which was really close to yours in square footage, which actually was a little bit more than yours, was priced at $399. And that one, if you remember, was pretty similar to yours in condition, right? It was also on the golf course. So knowing that information, I guess where would you feel comfortable making that offer?
I'm at that 435 number. I mean, I love the house and the golf course and all that. So, it's, the other agents were in agreement as well that they thought we could get a little bit more.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like you've gotten some insight from other agents that the 435 would be real. So I guess my question as we go through this, Chris, is you can see this one here. That's at 449 where they listed, which gives you some hope, right? And yet this one was on the largest lot in all of Stony Brook West, and it was on the golf course. And it was still in similar condition. So I guess my question to you is, at 435, when this one right here just went under contract, and it was most similar to yours at 399, would you feel comfortable paying 435 for your home?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends, I guess, on my motivation. It's kind of hard for me to answer not being the buyer, but I definitely want to get as much as I can from it.
Okay, you just said a mouthful, get as much as you can. So with that said, can we talk about strategy that's going to help you get the most? Sure. Okay, great. So there's typically two strategies in pricing a home in today's marketplace. The first strategy, Chris, is we price it right where the market is. Typically what happens when we see that strategy in place is it drives buyers to us. We get more people that come to see your house and more people that want your house. And the more people that want your house is the greater chance that we're gonna have more offers at the same time. But what happens when that happens is we get the ability to negotiate from a position of strength. Now, the second strategy in pricing your home in today's market is we price beyond the market. And even in today's market, where we have low inventory and not a lot of choices, what I'm finding is when a home is priced well beyond the market, typically what happens is we may get fewer showings. It's likely that we will have fewer showings because it's priced beyond the market, and we may only get one offer at the same time. Now, the way that affects you is this: we can't negotiate from a position of strength, and we also may have to choose from a buyer that is willing to pay over market price. Do you know who those buyers typically are?
No.
Those are going to be the buyers that may not be as qualified as a cash buyer or a buyer that has a significantly large down payment. So those are the buyers that right now, that when they go to compete, they really don't stand as much a chance as a cash buyer or a buyer that's putting a huge down payment. So what that means is you may have to walk down the road with a buyer that'll say that they're going to pay your price, and yet when the appraisal happens and it all washes out, they really don't have the ability to do that. So now that you've heard these two strategies, which one do you think makes more sense to you?
Well, the one where you would get multiple offers. I mean, what could we price it at that we could make that happen?
Well, I was able to confirm this property priced at $400,000. They actually received, I called the agent and they told me that they had 12 offers and that this property is actually going to sell for over asking price. Okay. That's what they shared. Good. So, I mean, it would appear that this would be the magic number. Would you consider pricing at that number so that you can negotiate from strength?
Well, that's pretty low compared to what I really want. Can't go any higher than that.
You know, Chris, you're the boss. Ultimately, you're going to tell me what to do. You're in charge here. And at the same time, my job is to interpret the market and share with you, as you had said, what's going to get you the most. Now, in this case, if we go out there at a price that's well beyond the market, we could risk maybe not getting offers or perhaps just getting an offer with a buyer that's not qualified. Versus if we go out there at the right number, then you have more options. So that's up to you. What were your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I'd like to do it higher. What would be the highest you think we could list it at?
What did you have in mind?
435.
Okay, so 435 would put you at, let's look at it. At 435, that number, actually here, we got it right here. It's going to put you well beyond what the highest price per square foot was. So if you were a buyer, knowing that information, that the largest lot in the community sold for less price per square foot than what you're wanting to sell at, I guess, how would you feel about going to look at that house if others came on the market that were priced fair?
Well, if there were others out there that were lower, then yeah, I mean, it'd be different. But you said I don't have any competition right now.
They're coming on the market every day. As you see, these pendings came on probably about 15 days ago.
Next question.
So the question would be, do you want to price it at a price that's going to give you more options? Or do you want to go out there at the 435 and potentially not get any showings at all?
Well, I definitely want to get showings. I mean, can't we start it high and come down if we had to?
We could, yeah. So what would you have in mind?
Can we price it? Would you be willing to price it at 435 or maybe 425?
My question to you would be this: if we're out on the market, what you're running the risk of is becoming the pivot home. Are you familiar with what that means? No. Okay, so a home is getting shown, and there's an agent in the home, and they're showing the property, and they say to their buyer, if you like this home at this price, wait till you see the next one I'm going to show you. Now, all that home gets used to do is to sell the competition. So typically what happens in that case is you can see most of these homes we're selling are going under contract within about 5 days, correct?
Right.
So in this case, when you've got homes that are going under contract in 5 days, if we're out there longer than that 5 days, what questions would come to your mind if you were a buyer? If there's something that's out there maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Probably there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. So your home could potentially get a stigma. So what I would caution against is we certainly don't want to be out there at that price too long, right? So my question to you would be, if we're not getting the showings and the offers in the first week, would you consider making a reduction so that we could actually get you top market price?
Yeah, I would consider it.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you want to start at what, 425?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, any other questions before we get started?
Nope.
All right, all we need to do now is sign the contract so we can get started. Here you go.
What's your commission?
So I know that that was something that was important to you, and typically the commission is something that we use, obviously, to attract other buyers to the property. We're certainly not going to let that come between us making that business happen for us today. So what did you have in mind?
One of the other agents said they would do it for 4%. Do you think you can match that?
4%. Okay. I'm curious. That agent, did they say how that commission would be structured?
Yeah, they were going to offer 2.5 to the other agent.
Offer 2.5 to the other agent, and then they would take 1.5. Is that correct?
Right.
So what I'm hearing you say today, Chris, is if we could match that commission rate, then you would be ready to move forward and start the process today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If we couldn't match that, sounds like you've got another direction that you're going to go, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that said, let's go ahead and do the deal.
Okay. So Mark and I talked about this earlier today. So we all have our own decisions to make, but you would not push on that at all. You wouldn't try to attempt to overcome that at all. That's exactly how we just role played that. That's exactly how you would do it.
It depends on the numbers. If this was a $150,000 house, this is what I would say. I would say, sounds to me like the most important thing to you is the commission that's going to be charged as you make this decision. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
That price. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I may not be the right agent for you, and yet if your decision is going to be based on who's the most professional, who's got the most experience in the marketplace, who's got the greatest track record and reviews, then I might be a good fit for you. So based on that, I'm okay either way, regardless of what you decide, Chris. What would your preference be?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to put the most amount of money in my pocket, so.
Okay, great. Now, if it's a small property, and I'm talking about, we have to make a business decision about what is the minimum amount that would make sense for us to earn if we were going to do a transaction. And so if it was that, then I'm going to ask it in that way, because if it's all about the money for them, and if it's less than what I'm willing to earn, then I may not take that on as a commission. Now, if it is all about, if I can earn what my minimum commission would be, and I'm comfortable with that in this marketplace, and we talked about it, if we can earn $7,000, if I can earn $7,000 versus not earn $7,000, and you heard him say he's going to go with the other agent, if I don't match it, I'm going to match it, and I'm going to move forward. Because with low inventory, we are in a market where we're going to come across that. We're going to come up against that. And I asked him how that was split. Now, typically, we would split our, we like to split 50-50. If it's anything less than, like, if it's going to be a 4% commission, you got to make a business decision there. I don't know. I would say, what's important to you? I might ask you, would you consider doing a 2 and a 2? Right. And then see what he says to that. Because in this market, are buyer's agents going and showing houses at 2%?
Well, we cannot do that. So office policy is that we have to offer 2.5% co-broke. So if you take a listing at 4%, you're only earning 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah, that's office policy. And I actually had this come up on Friday last week, and I chose to take it because it is a very updated house, no inventory. It's going to sell. We get multiple offers. And I was able to negotiate with him that if I hit a certain number, that he was gonna give me a 0.5 point more.
Nice.
So sometimes you can do that as well.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey guys, whenever you're ready, just tell us. We have a bunch of questions that have been added to the chat.
Yep, okay.
So
All right.
you just give us the okay whenever you're ready for that, okay?
Okay, question from Mark. Why are you going through showing instructions before going through the net sheet and the price? Is it a way to assume the close?
Yeah. If you notice in my role play or in this script, there's 15 closes before I even get to the price.
Yep.
Good question.
When sending the comps in advance, are you sending in the form of the grid you are presenting, or are you sending an RPR report or something similar?
I keep it simple. An RPR is too much information for most people. I want them to see just really the numbers. It's in the form of the grid.
And I had shared with the group prior to you guys starting that your updated presentation, Mark, we're going to add it to the Cappers and Training file section in the Facebook page. And we are
Okay.
also going to add it to our kw348.com in the Ignite section as an added bonus item. So
Okay, good.
they'll all get a copy of your updated. So thank you for that. Folks, what other questions do you have?
I have a question.
Julie?
Yes. I learned that we cannot offer less than 3.5% for the other agents. And also we cannot make the deal for us for less than 2%.
Yes, that is office policy. Is that office policy, Cynthia?
Yeah, I just want to be sure what is the office policy.
It is.
Said you accepted 1.5, right? For the listing agent. So I want to know if this is possible or not.
Well, Suli, there are exceptions to the rule, like always, right? And there are certain circumstances that the ownership team and our top 20% discussed this past summer. So should you run into a situation that you want to talk about prior to going on your listing appointment, just let me know.
Yeah, because I had exactly the situation this Saturday and I listened to the.
Well, and I think it's important for us to talk about a couple of things. The office policy is that way because Murray is the broker across all of the brokerages, right? The ALCs, and which consists of the top 20%, and the ownership team have decided to offer a certain percentage to a co-op agent because we really value the opportunity to work with other agents and we want to get our listing sold. That's the intention, right? And so that policy was put in place not just for us, but that's across all of the KW offices that Murray oversees, which is about 17 offices. It's a lot. So I want you to think about that. The second thing is, as far as money that you're keeping as a listing agent, there's a cost of sale associated with listing a property. And no better two people to talk to you about that than these two gentlemen sitting here, Mark and Chris. You know, there's the cost of you doing the presentation, there's the cost of the listing paperwork, there's a cost of the photography, the marketing and advertising, and it's also about working with, and it's everything, your farming, your door knocking, anything that you're going to do, right? And so when you think about how much money you actually spend as a listing agent, that number used to be $1,700 per listing when I was listing, and that was 2005, 6, 7, and 8. So I don't know what that number is now because I haven't looked at it, but there's always a cost associated with that. So you as the listing agent also have to understand that, yes, we're offering a co-op agent commission, but then you're paying into your cap, you're paying royalty, you're paying for marketing, advertising, and taxes. So how much money are you actually making on that listing at the end of the day if you're only taking it at 1.5 or 1%? And here's the caveat, it depends on the price point as well.
Yeah, and I would say for you guys, the newer, it doesn't come up that often. And if you just say my broker won't allow me to go any less, that usually will handle it. I mean, I don't get the commission objections, but maybe 20% of the time with the appointments that I go on. Most of the time, they just agree to it, to the 6, 7, or 8.
Yeah. And I can agree there, Chris. I haven't had any issues getting full commission as of late for the couple of listings that I've taken. It's never come up.
Especially with your database people, right? So that's why we encourage you guys to call the people that are in your phones that know, like, and love you, because they are going to be the ones that value you more and are going to willing to pay you what you're worth, right? It's the more people that you don't know, which a lot of people want to call someone that they don't know, where you're going to run into those commission objections. So Michelle, I'm venturing to guess most of your listing appointments, you're getting no objections there from your sphere, from your database.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. There's another question in the chat from Shawnee. She said, how would you handle it if the seller needed to purchase a home before they sold their current home? Would you still get the listing agreement signed in advance?
Yes. And there's a preliminary marketing strip that I would use for that. And it goes like this. So it sounds like, well, first of all, obviously you're going to ensure that they can purchase before they sell their house. So you're going to get them with a lender to confirm that. And if they can, that's great, because not everybody has the luxury to do that in this market. So if that's the case, and then the objection might sound like this: well, since I'm going to buy my house first, well, let's wait to list the house. I said, and I would say to that, I'd say, all right, Chris, I can appreciate that, your intentions are that you buy your house next, and that's why you would want to wait. And I'm just curious, are you familiar with preliminary marketing? Well, no, I'm not. Well, so can I share with you the benefit of it? Sure. So we belong to a database or a network of the top 1% of all agents in the country. By the way, out of the role play, we do, guys, don't we have KW Connect? And we can find people that are doing high production, right? So since 2002, I belong to a network of the top 1% of all agents in the country. And the value to you as a seller is that I'm receiving highly qualified, motivated buyer leads that have a timeline. So while you're out looking for your next property to find it, I can connect with those buyer leads and let them know about your home with no showings, so you feel no pressure. All the while, it's creating pent-up interest in your home, so that when we do go live, let's say when you identify your next home and you're ready to go live and on the market, we've created pent-up interest. Now, just to give you an example of how it's helped our sellers, of the 12 homes we've sold in the last 2 months, 11 of those families we did preliminary marketing on for. All 11 of those families, because we created pent-up interest, were able to receive multiple offers, which allowed them to negotiate from a position of strength. Is that something that you think would help you, Chris? Yes. Who would say no to that? Okay. So now it's all about them. Yeah, that would help me. Great. Then why don't we do the right thing? Let's complete the paperwork. I'll do preliminary marketing while you're looking for your next house. That way, all we got to do is pull the trigger, and we've got everything ready to go when that time comes.
And Shawnee, I would also just bring up the fact that, put it back in their court like Mark did with me a lot. So when your home goes on the market, you're hoping we're getting multiple offers. Would you be more likely to choose someone that does not have a home to sell, or someone that does? And as the seller, they're going to want less contingencies.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just a very rational thinking.
Yeah. So if it ends up being someone like Chris just said that actually has to sell in order to buy the next house, then put the shoe on their foot. Put them in the position of that seller.
So I had a couple of ahas, but before I do, I started to sense that there was a little frustration with Chris as you kept driving the price. Why didn't you move sooner to meet him in the middle with the number? Were you trying to hear the 425 from him before you gave it to him? What was the strategy behind that?
First of all, I want to point out to you how observant you are. And I think you're right. Right, Chris?
Yeah, and that was it. That's why I encourage people to be in the room, because you can sense, you can get body language. I mean, I know you guys can see us pretty well. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. And yeah, you're right, Michelle. I was getting frustrated. And that's me. That's my personality style. I'm a driver. And so he was ticking me off. And
he wanted a number.
I mean, yeah.
Chris
it was like a
number.
match, right?
So yeah, I'm learning from this today too, because he wanted a number. And you're exactly correct. So, it might have sounded something like this. I just kept going back and asking him, Because the reality is the right number is 400 in that case. It would have been 400.
Yeah.
And so then he got to a place where he said, what's the question? I love that. That was awesome.
I didn't know what the question was. That was not role playing, that was real.
No. So he got to that place, and quite frankly, you know, it could sound like this. All right, so it sounds to me like you want to price it higher, and I could have been a lot quicker in my objection handler. It could have sounded like this. So I'm curious, if we're out there on the market for a week and you're not getting the showing activity you're looking for, are you open to reducing the price? Bam.
You asked me and I said yes.
If I would have asked that sooner, I probably wouldn't have gotten that level of frustration in Chris. And so you are correct. Thank you for pointing that out, Michelle.
You're welcome. And then a couple of ahas. I noticed that every time you refer to Chris as you pointed towards him. And whenever you talked of range of dollar, you used your hands. You either did your fingers or your hands. Is that strategy, or that's just kind of something what you just naturally do?
Well, I was, if in that part of the script, I was referring to, we're not looking to a pinpoint penny in terms of numbers, but instead a very tight, realistic range. Okay, that's just visual. And at that point, I just happen to talk with my hands. Must be the Italian side of my family.
But he does very well though, Michelle, because I've done this with him in the past, that when he's attempting to get agreement from the other people, he's shaking his head. If you guys did not
Body
notice
language.
that. Yeah.
Really good. What else? What other ahas or
I
statements?
have a question.
Okay, please.
So I know that earlier the seller mentioned that he wasn't comfortable sharing who the other agents he's interviewing was, but if he did share who it was, would you do any other preparation or research on them before you come to the presentation?
Absolutely. And there's a report card that I would have brought with, and I did bring it in case he shared the agent. He didn't though. And then in this case, I would have used that report card and say, you know, I just want to see what you're paying for. Based on that, I mean, who would you prefer to have work for you? And then I go over my stats versus the other agent.
And the stats are sales, active, pending, sold, days on market, and list of sales price. So if you're competing against somebody that your list of sales price is higher, that will help you overcome any commission objections.
Correct.
Right? And most people, in my experience, will tell you who the other agents are.
Yes.
And it is good to know, Alexander. That's a great question. It's like, Mark and I do compete sometimes, and when I know that I'm competing against someone at Mark's caliber, regardless of what I think their personality style is, I want to go first, otherwise I may not even have a chance, because Mark's a good closer.
And vice versa, yeah.
And in the event that they don't have personal stats to bring with them, what do you suggest that they do?
Use if they're on a team, use the team stats, and if they're not on a team, then use the market center stats.
Yeah.
Use market center stats for your product to show a comparison.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yeah.
You talk to him on the phone, and how far will you send the comp to him before you send it before the meeting?
Correct. I send it out before the meeting.
Like after he's meeting with the other agents or before?
It has nothing to do with when he's meeting the other agents.
Oh.
It's just I want it out to him, like ideally, as soon as I can get it out to him, as long as it's not too soon. Like I set an appointment for the 20th of this month. I'm not going to send the comps out probably until the 13th. All right, it's for me to send it out last week would have been way too soon because a lot can happen in 2 weeks in this market. However, I like to get it out at least a couple days. If the appointment's tomorrow, then I want it out today. So that, and I ask them, I'll say, I'm going to get that out to you by tonight. Will you please take a few minutes and review that information? So then they get kind of some clarity on the market before I get there. And if their expectation is here and the market is here, then they can get those emotions out before I get there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They can start to process that information before I get there.
Really good
All of
question.
those comps, are you sending like a packet?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you typically like, what's the difference between pre-listing and the actual listing presentation or the materials that?
The pre-listing packet is almost identical. It's almost the same. It's just that what I bring to them is in hard copy. It's in print.
Okay.
I would just take, she's asking what's in the pre-listing packet. I mean, you guys cover that in Ignite, so.
Yeah, we're actually doing that today.
Fancy, most people aren't gonna spend a lot of time looking at that, so just use what's given to you. It's provided for a good reason. Ours is just tweaked a little bit, but not very much. And most people, they're not gonna spend a ton of time looking at it.
And so, since they're not gonna spend a ton of time, you wanna make sure that what's on top. What should be on top first?
The grid.
Not the net sheet, you do that when you get it. Pricing, market, so that they get them to see that first.
Yeah, the more you can get them to look at pricing beforehand, the more you're not gonna have 3-hour listing appointments.
Good advice. Guys, what?
I like 3-hour listing appointments, I don't know, I don't. We've all been there.
Well, and you know what? I just want to point out that Mark, the Ramey group, Mark and his team, they're in the top, one of the top ranking teams for listings in our region. Mark, I didn't know if you were aware of that. I just got the list on Friday because KW is focusing on listings, guys. And every Tuesday they're doing a segment on having top listers from our KW family featured on KW Connect. And the information's on KW Connect and on the calendar. We'll get it to you. But Mark, your name came up and they asked if you'd like to participate in that. So you and I will talk about that later. So guys, I do want to share with you the fact that these two top producers have taken the time to share with you is super valuable. I wish that we had like all 200 agents on this call, right? Right? Who doesn't need a listing?
What I would share is, a year and a half, no, 2 years ago, I made a decision to get a coach to coach me specifically on scripting and production, and it has changed. Because I've been doing this for a long time, guys, and I went about 2 years, and I'm shamefully going to say this, I'm ashamed to say this, without role playing. Because I thought, oh, hey, I know it, hey. And as sharp as our skills are, as the market changes, we're right there with it. And so as long as I'm going to be a listing agent on my team, I'm going to, well, even after that, because I've got to help train the team member that's going to come into that role eventually. So I would highly suggest that 5 days a week that you're doing role play and that you're doing real play on this presentation with someone. Because the sooner that you know this presentation is the sooner that this business gets really fun. Because then you're in a presentation and you're not thinking about what you've got to say next. You're listening and you're connecting with that client. And it just, trust factor when you connect goes way up. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, anything else?
Anything else, guys?
I do have one last question.
Please.
When you're leaving your listing appointment, what is something you leave with that client to make you stand out or to make them remember you?
Are you talking about if we don't get the listing?
Yes, like let's say they have someone else to interview after you. For example, I went to a listing appointment on Friday and another agent left a book. They're an author and they left like a handwritten note, and I just thought that was so nice and personable. But what is something you would leave behind to kind of let yourself stand out?
Okay, so it happens. Sometimes we don't get the listing and we do want to be remembered. So on that point, I shoot a BombBomb video and I message it to them immediately. And what I do is I have a dry erase board where I will just write their name like this big on it. And because then they're seeing a BombBomb message. A lot of people, they might not open a video, but if they see their name on it, that's the first thing they see on the video on a dry erase board. And then I just shoot a quick video. It's probably maybe 30 seconds. It sounds like this. Hey, Chris. It's Mark. I just wanted to shoot a quick video to thank you for your time today. I'm super grateful. Having heard the story of what you're looking to accomplish and why, I feel supremely confident that not only can we help you maximize value, and we can help you make this a smooth and easy transition. If you have any questions, my direct number is 407-421-9653. And I look forward to providing you and your family a great assistance in getting you to your goal. That's it. It's a BombBomb message. Now that BombBomb message, I can see how many times they've opened it. So then I can see what they're doing with it when they've, you know, and that's it. So to me, video is very powerful.
And I will share with you, thanks, Mark, through KW Connect, you can do videos just like that, and it tracks the same information, how many times they've opened it, emails that they've read. So.
And if I don't get the listing, I also do a handwritten thank you card.
Yeah, I just do the handwritten thank you and a follow-up.
Yeah,
text.
and I mail it immediately.
Yes, correct.
Awesome.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, guys. Let's give them a round of applause for their help.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And our Ignite students, we're going to take a 15-minute break, and then we're going to kick off working with the seller, pre-listing presentations, listing presentations at 10:21. Thanks, everyone.